Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here. Welcome back to Dragon Ball Super Reviews. Today we'll be doing the review of episode 50. This episode is titled Goku vs. Black, The Road Towards the Sealed Future. This episode was good. Really good. I have very few complaints here. And most of my complaints haven't been about the episodes themselves, but about consistencies based on, Trunks. Because when you bring in future Trunks, like I said before in several of my other reviews since we started the Black arc, and yes, I call it the Black arc. I don't call it the future Trunks arc. For two reasons. One, if I call it the Future Trunks arc, I'm already implying that it's just like the saga of Future Trunks, which takes place in Funimation. Funimation had a weird habit of making almost every little event of saga. For example, rather than just saying the Android saga, there was the Dr. Gero saga, the Imperfect Cell saga, then the Perfect Cell saga, then the Cell Game saga. Well, they did something like this before, where before the Dr. Gero saga, there was the Trunks saga. So, out of respect of that, I guess, I decided to call it the Black Saga. The reason I call it the Black Saga is because Black is the main antagonist that they're fighting off against, not Future Trunks, so it would make sense. Anyway, now that clarification BS is out of the way, like I said, when you're bringing in Future Trunks in this arc or saga or whatever have you, then that means you have to play a game of catch up. And if the game of catch up isn't as consistent as it was when Trunks started in the main DBZ timeline series, then there's going to be some problems, and that's where most of my major issues were coming from. Anyway, this episode doesn't need to focus on consistencies because it's basically all new content. Goku fights off against Black, and Goku's at Super Saiyan 2 while Black is at normal state, even though we don't know if Black can transform or not. Anyway, this fight looks really good, and one of the things I'm really proud of is the fact that Goku did use Super Saiyan 2 and not Super Saiyan 1 or Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan Blue for that matter. Why he didn't use Super Saiyan 1 is because that would imply that Black is really weak. Goku had to step it up a notch by going Super Saiyan 2 because he realized that Trunks went Super Saiyan 2 in order to fight Black in the future timeline. The reason he knew this was because he knew that future Trunks was fighting Black for 1 year, so he knew Super Saiyan 2 would be about the level he needed to be in order to fight off against Black. Any more energy and it would have been basically unnecessary. Or if Black was holding back against Trunks this whole time, if Goku had decided to pump it up with Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan Blue, he would have wasted too much energy, and if Black had revealed some new transformation or something, Goku would have been off guard, and it's best to not be off guard when you're in your highest level of power versus if you were at Super Saiyan 2. So, good move there on Goku's part. Secondly, I just really love the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. It's not Super Saiyan 1, which Super Saiyan 1's a cool transformation and all, don't get me wrong. It's one of the bases between any anime transformation, right next to Ash turning his hat backwards, Yugi turning Yami, Yugi, and others. However, Super Saiyan 2 to me was always great. It always felt like this really cool sequel to an already good movie, and it's also the middle ground of power. It was usually the level of power that Z Warriors would take when they need to take the fight a little bit more seriously and less casually, while at the same time using a very effective amount of energy so they don't drain it all in one setting. Also, I liked Super Saiyan 2 just because it ended the line of Super Saiyan transformations that had meaning and emotion behind them, aka Vegeta turning Majin, Goku end up training with Grand Kaiô. I wish we could actually see that training, and then Gohan having to face the ordeal with Cell and Android 16 dying. So yeah, really good that they used Super Saiyan 2. The fight looks really good, and the animation for the most part was good during the fight. I think there were very few moments where the animation was kind of wonky, but they were very few in between, and they were usually in small frames, not in large animated bits. So the fight in itself looks really good. My only issue with the fight was that music placement was kind of weird. For example, they used the song from when Goku is ascending from the ocean to fight Beerus on the second round, basically like a very strong comeback song, but they used it in the middle of the fight. Rather, they should have just went ahead and used the song that plays in the previews of every episode of the Black Goku saga. So, that was one of my weird issues there. The reason I say this is a small issue is because it's the equivalent of playing the song that plays when Goku is using Kaioken times 20 against Frieza after coming out of the water, because it sounds like a really great comeback song because Goku is losing and having his back against the wall. nobody had their back against the wall in this part, at least not Goku, so there was no need for a comeback song. They should have just went ahead and used an action song, or to the very least used the song that was commonly used when Goku and Hit had a very big standoff. Other than that, like I said, there's no real major issues here. The fight itself was really good. I found myself getting really invested and involved into the events that happened in this episode. For example, when the fight had reached a bigger climax, the time machine had tipped over, and when Trunks called out the time machine, Black was immediately able to realize exactly how Trunks was able to get to this timeline in the first place. When he found that out, it was basically trouble from there, because Black wasted no time in order to destroy the time machine, and I found myself even yelling at the screen when it happened. I was legitimately worried about this. Why? Because that's Trunks' really only way back. At least that's what we thought. Later on, we also get parts where we notice that Black is actually getting weaker in the fight because he's being distracted by something. What is that distraction? Well, apparently when you use the time ring in order to transcend through a different time, you're only allowed to be in that time for a certain amount of time. So basically, long story short, Black was running at his limit of how long he could be in the future timeline, and the wormhole was sucking him up respectively because of it. This means he was basically distracted in the fight and wasn't able to fight at full percent because it was basing itself off of Black's power as well. Black got sent back to the future, which calms us down for now and starts a formula that I'm really welcoming again in Dragon Ball Super. And this formula was standby time. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in most of the sagas in Dragon Ball Z, there was a lot of moments where the villain was still lurking about the real world, and our heroes just couldn't fight the villain at the time because of some certain circumstances. One, they had to train. Two, they were stuck in a different dimension. B, some of the characters were dying and they were waiting for them to come back, or just various things like that. It happened a lot in the Android saga. There was even a moment where our Z Warriors had to basically go ahead and sleep at Master Roshi's house to wait it out for the androids to show up because Goku had the heart virus. So yeah, just a lot of standby time to me is really good because it brings an ominous atmosphere to the entire setting of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super in this case. Basically, Goku Black is still an issue. However, they can't deal with him right now because they actually have to do the time machine thing. Well, since the time machine is destroyed, all hope did seem lost. However, Bulma was able to actually find the old time machine that Cell used way back when. My only gripe with this is, and you could correct me in the comment section, but I believe in that very episode, they put the time machine back in its capsule, and when they did that, they gave Trunks that capsule, and he put it up with his other time machine. So technically, Trunks should have that time machine, not Bulma? I'm not 100% if this is true or not, but I do feel that it was a good move for them to go ahead and use Cells, although it is linked to his timeline, which is the unseen one. So I guess they're going to have to go ahead and modify it so that it's reconfigured into Trunks' future timeline, which I'm sure will be very possible given Bulma's intellect. But other than that, there is a way to do it. I do also love the fact that Krillin and Piccolo are here. Now, I know it may not seem important at surface. However, when Piccolo and Krillin are here, it basically should bring Trunks, Krillin, Piccolo, Goku, and Vegeta all in one spot. Now all we need is Gohan, Tien, and Yamcha, and we basically have the whole DBZ crew. But with that said, the fight was really good, and I had basically no complaints here except for those small little gripes. So, what'd you think about the episode? I'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3, out.